Hello, everyone, and welcome to Resilient You with Alicia Pozsony. Today, we have a special guest. We have Ryan Pandolfini, who is a Collegiate Hall of Fame. He is currently director of USA Prime Northeast Baseball Academy and a slew of other things. Ryan, thank you so much, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you very much for having me.
So, as you may know, our listeners are focused on being resilient and making changes throughout their life so that they can, do what you've done numerous times. Bouncing back. I know we're all born with different things that come natural to us. And one of the things, Ryan, that I know that you've been called a born salesman. So I'm definitely interested in hearing how listening to cues that you've gotten throughout your life have helped you in your life. I know that we want to talk about your personal experiences throughout your youth as well as your adult life. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, we could start from the beginning. When I was younger, I always wanted to play professional baseball. I knew that was my aspirations, and I always worked what I believe to be harder than the next to get there. I had talent, um, but I wasn't the most talented player out there. But I like to believe that not only did I work the hardest, but I actually enjoyed working the hardest. So if I went 2 for 4 in a game, whereas a lot of kids would be happy about that, I wanted to come home and take some swings and work on the other two for 4 that I didn't get to hit, and work on what I did wrong and those things. So those were something that I was just born with, and I was always interested in being the best when it came to the game of baseball. Um, as I got older, um, I guess you want me to get right into the high school story, which leads us to this, or do you have something else first?
Yeah. So when you say you had some talent, so you recognized that and accepted yourself from an early age. Is that right? And I know you have
Yeah,
a very strong family, right? So I'm sure that has helped you as well.
yeah. Yeah, my uncle was a professional baseball player. My mother's brother. He played with the Orioles for 23 years, I believe it was, and then he coached with them for another 20 plus years as the hitting coach. So baseball was in our family. His two sons both played professionally. They were older than me, about 10, 15 years older than
Hmm.
me. So it was always in the atmosphere, in the cards, and so to speak. And um, yeah, it was something that I knew was always going to be, there. Um, as far as my personal experience goes, my first real, I guess you could say, regret or failure, as you like to, as you worded it, excuse me, earlier, um, was in high school. Our 92 varsity team had all seniors. They were ranked like 16th in the country. And long story short, the center fielder got hit with a fastball when they were 16-0. He got hit with the fastball in the wrist, broke his wrist. He was going to be out the rest of the year. Coach called down to JV. Now, our JV team, just to put it in perspective, we would have beat any other team in the CVC except our team. We were that good. Um,
And that was at Steiner, right, in Hamilton?
Steiner, yeah, Steiner High School, yes. So anyway, he calls down to the JV team and he asks the head coach, who's your best hitter, and they said, Pandolfini. Can he play the outfield? And he says, well, I don't know. He plays shortstop for me. He says, let me ask him. And he asked me, and of course, my natural reaction was, oh yeah, no doubt. Long story short, I go up for a practice or two, and I wind up looking like a deer in headlights as far as running around the outfield, not being able to field the fly ball, properly in order to be on a state championship team. To my disappointment, I got bumped back down the next day. Another player got bumped up that was actually an outfielder, and he winds up staying up there the last 17 games of the season, and getting a state championship ring, and I was back on the JV team. So that was a huge punch in the gut for me, as far as, my whole life I just thought, go out, prove yourself to be the best shortstop, and don't let anybody beat you out. And I did that, but not realizing that I was actually handcuffing myself into one position. So fast forward a little bit. I have two boys, as you know, and my older one, let's just say he enjoys the game, but whether he goes 4 for 4, 0 for 4, he just wants to come home and do what's next. My little one seems to have that intensity or that drive that I had when it comes to baseball and being the best. But what I have with him is a little bit different. He plays shortstop for me because he's usually my best fielder. But then I catch him when the hardest pitcher throws. I put him in the outfield when balls are popping left and right in the outfield. When he plays up on, he's 9, but when he plays on, 10, 11, 12-year-old teams. Last year as an 8-year-old, he actually played on the 12-year-old Cal Ripken 50-70 team that went to the World Series out of Hamilton Little Lads. He played left field for them when he played. So I try to make him play all 9 positions. So when he gets to high school, the goal will be, the coach will say, who's your best hitter as the freshman, and it's hopefully Mateo. And then they'll say, can he play this position? Can he play that position? And the answer is always going to be a yes. And that's what I'm trying to do with him. So I'm not just putting him at the quote unquote, favorite spot to play in Little League, so he could be the best Little League guy around, and I'm moving him around so he could be the best that he could be. And before I go any further, I want to make sure that the listeners are aware of this is his choosing. Meaning, if he decides he wants to play tiddlywinks tomorrow, I'll pick up a book on tiddlywinks and I'll just be the best dad I can and learn how to be a tiddlywink instructor. But he chooses to follow my footsteps. When I do hitting lessons for my high school kids, he comes and he literally watches 3-4 hours a day of me doing lessons for my older kids. And when they're done, he wants to get in the cage and do the exact same thing that I just did with them, with no holdbacks. Not, Dad, you weren't throwing it that hard to them, or Dad, you weren't doing this. No, he wants it exactly the same, and he works at it that hard. So if he continues to love it like that, then yeah. Him and my older son, Marcello, who we got plans. Cello's going to go be an agent, and Daddy's going to be the trainer, and hopefully we travel around the world together on Mateo's curtails.
Oh, wow. So now I remember, both boys, because my son was same age as Marcello, and, you took their team to I don't know, all-star state champions. Like, it was the most amazing thing that I had seen, because before you as a coach, this was just daddy ball, right? These guys were just, okay, good job, kids. But you could see each player and tweak them in a matter of seconds, right, to get them on the right track. And I just want to say, Ryan, I was so amazed and blown away by that. So I'm so happy that you're here today. Both as a baseball expert, you rose to the every level that you could imagine, right? MLB, you had two boys you were blessed with, and they're following in your footsteps. And as well, you're a director for a baseball academy. You also have side business as a gym. You dabble in real estate on the side, and you have your sports academy, and you had summer camps for kids. I mean, just amazing, Ryan. So I just want our listeners to know that Ryan he has gifts, and I'm sure, Ryan, you have techniques that have helped you to do all of that, right? It takes someone special to help others and, to drive people, right? So my son, who is 14, he's going to be 15. My husband shared with me that he wants to coach kids in baseball. And I think both his father and you were inspirational in that. So just know that that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I really get a joy out of watching somebody take their talents in the game of baseball at X level and raise it to Y level. And some of them may raise it to Z level, and some of them may come all the way back around to X level. But just that taking those steps and seeing the light on their face and seeing how they really enjoy doing things that they really didn't see themselves being able to do. That's what motivates me. That's what keeps me going. That's what I really truly enjoy doing. Everybody always says to me, why do you do that? Why don't you just do it with your son? I say, if I hit the bazillion-dollar lottery tomorrow, I said, I'd still coach baseball every day of the week, because that's my love. That's my passion. That's what I want to do. I enjoy being around kids. I enjoy being around the youth, and I enjoy literally taking them from one step to the other. When I coached, the older kids, like the high school age kids, the American Legion kids, the thing I used to say to the kids at every year, I used to tell them in the beginning of the year, I said, listen, we might win a championship, we might not win a game. I said, but my goal is by the end of this year, you're going to get better. And when the year's over, you're going to say, and when years go by, you're going to say, when I get married, I want Coach Ryan at my wedding. When I have my first kid, I want Coach Ryan, to be at the baptism, to be here. And I guess I'm showing my age, but over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been invited to a couple of weddings. I've been at a baptism. I've been at a christening. And it's finally starting to come to fruition. And that's really what it's all about, right? Because 99 out of 100 kids that I coach aren't getting to the next level. Aren't getting to minor league baseball, let alone to the collegiate level. Some of them might not even want to play high school ball. You know what I mean? But the goal is really relationships. And I try to make the best relationship I can for the kid and relate it to life experiences through baseball. Through baseball being the outlet. But hard work on the field and in practice is equal to hard work in the classroom, is equal to hard work in the in the work office. Hard work can't be overlooked. And even if they may not be the smartest person in the workroom, even if they may not be the smartest person in the classroom, that doesn't still mean they can't get the best grades. That doesn't still mean they can't earn the highest salary because of the work that they put in. So I try to use baseball as an outlet when I have them, and just give them some positive reinforcement. And one of my quirks, I guess you could say, is I'm loud. So I always try to stay positive with my loud voice, but I am loud. I do talk a lot, and I do enjoy coaching, literally coaching, not standing on the bag like a bump on a log. I enjoy coaching. And I try to do that from start to finish, practice to practice, game to game, and and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it works. And I don't want to jump the gun too much, but having kids of kids now that come back to me 15, 20 years later, and now they're sending their kids to my camps or my academies or get, coming to get lessons for me because they did. And these kids don't even play baseball, or they didn't even play baseball past high school or 8th grade or whatever it may be. That's what keeps a smile on my face and keeps me doing what I'm doing.
Yes, and that's so good to hear you say that. Taking a role, especially in the world we live in with so many things going on, being able to sustain that with these kids that through your own experiences, you had to be. Or it's better to be open-minded and flexible, right? Don't be stuck in our thinking. As you mentioned, you had that one regret, not able to partake of all the different positions. And it's interesting because a lot of times, kids are afraid to try. Kids who don't have opportunities, right? So I know you've even brought up some kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods or families where they didn't have the money to join, and you saw something in the kids and you brought them along with you, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
There's a couple of players, and for their sake, I won't mention their names, but there's a couple of players. There's one even currently on my team right now. Mom and dad are going through a separation. He's got 4 or 5 different siblings, and the kid played for me in the past, and he loves the game and he loves me. And the dad said something along the lines to me preseason, hey, listen, I just want you to know the player's not going to be able to come back because I just don't have the money right now, let alone the time. And it's going to be too hard to get him there because, my wife and I are separating, and we got the 2 little ones at home and this and that. Well, basically, I for the season adopted him, if you will. I was able to work out something with the academy to get him to pay X, and he would stay with me on the overnight trips in the hotel with us, and he really started to forget about the problems going on at home, and enjoy the time that we had together on the field with the kids. And it was really uplifting for him and for me. As I'm sure you know, and I'm not sure if the listeners are aware of this yet, if you told them in the background, but I went through a divorce in 2017 myself. The blessing out of that is my ex-wife and I remain close. We live a mile and a half from each other. We talk every day for the best interest of the kids. She has a great boyfriend who was instrumental in letting us know about his difficulties of his childhood when his parents divorced, and how, we should really sit down and talk and this and that and the other thing. And I said, I've been trying to do that since we got divorced. But anyway, he was able to get through to her, and we sat down a couple of years ago. The girl that I'm seeing, my girlfriend now, is also very awesome with it. So we all got together a couple Christmases ago, and showed the kids that just because mom and dad are divorced doesn't mean we don't love you and we don't care about each other, blah blah blah. And it really was a blessing in disguise for everybody. Just the other day, a simple little thing. She came. My girlfriend has 3 kids, and she came with her 2 little ones, and we went to Marcello's game, and Jess was there. Jess was braiding the little girl's hair, and halfway through the game, my girlfriend and Jess went back to Jess's house to, go play with the dog. They just got puppies together, and it's really good. It's the best situation that we can have with what could be a bad situation, and that's basically the topic of this, what you wanted to talk about. Just instead of always focusing on the negative, which I feel so many people in the world do today, you have to look at the bright side of things. And I'm not always perfect, and I don't get everything right, and I never claim to. But I do always look to see the bright side in everything. Like, there has to be a reason why such and such is happening. There has to be a reason why I'm going through X to get to Y. There has to be a reason why we're going through X to get to Y. And I look for the bright side in everything, and I really try to stay focused on, even when something looks negative, what's the positive that's going to come out of this? I went through a rough patch with COVID. When COVID hit, as you mentioned, I do real estate in the baseball academy. Well, I was shut down for 8 months for both of them. I'm 40 at that time. I was a 44-year-old man. I had to move back in with my parents. And the initial thought is, you're 44 years old, you move back in with your parents. And then the second thought is, how about I'm 44 years old and I actually have both of my parents that are alive, both of my parents that live up the block, and both of my parents that said, well, let's go, come in with us. It's not even a doubt. And, blessed to have somebody that actually cares and opened us with open arms. And obviously, it was a big positive, where it could have been a big negative for somebody else. It was a big positive. Not only that, but then I had to learn how to be a single dad, and how do I get one kid to his practice at the same time as the other kid to his practice, at the same time, working and doing my thing. And thank goodness, again, like my parents, they're the kids' grandparents, they live for me and my 2 brothers and our 6 grandkids. Between the 3 of us, we got 6 kids. And I mean, if they miss a practice, then something's the matter, because they don't miss a thing. And they've done that since the time I was little, since my grandparents were alive. They've come to every practice, game, everything. Even when I started my coaching career, I started at what used to be called McCorston Catholic High School, now it's Trenton Catholic Academy. I got my first head coaching job, and I'm coaching my first game. I look in the stands, and there's 3 people: my mother, my grandmother, and one of the kids' fathers. That was it. But you know what? My mother, my grandmother didn't miss a game all year long. And at that time, she was 87, 88 years old. She wound up passing at 93. But she didn't miss a game until she was 90 herself. So, I mean, I try to stay focused on the positive and the things that I have. and not what you could have. Because let's be honest, we can all have more, right? We can all have more. We can all have better. And it's not. I'm not saying it's not good to strive for more and to strive to be better. But you also have to stop and reflect and think about how lucky you are to have what you do have, and not be jealous, but be envious. Be envious of what Joe Schmo has and want it, but don't be jealous of what Joe Schmo has. Work harder and go get it, or be thankful for what you have. And that's the moral of my story, which I really try to focus on.
Yeah, and that message comes through, right? So from the time that you were, in high school and you got called up and you had that disappointment, that I think was the first big thing, right? That affected you in such a way that you were probably, it was new. It's like, did you have that positivity back then?
No. I wouldn't say that. I would say back then I was a high school kid, borderline cocky, borderline confident, teetering on the cocky confident line. And, I took that punch in the gut and I don't know, it was almost like a light switch of I'm never going to let this happen again kind of thing, and in anything. And again, looking back on it, okay, maybe it wasn't for me, but now it's for my kids and it's for them and being able to be in other words, what's the positive message out of this? The positive message is, okay, I didn't get what I wanted, but now I'm smart enough to know what I don't want for my kids. So that's the positive message. Whereas maybe if I would have got it then, I wouldn't have had the impact on my kids to realize of what can be better for them in their life. And let's be honest, as parents, as much as we have, we always want more for the kids, right? So if my kids could turn out to be better than me in life, not even in sports, but in life in general, have more than me, be happier than me, that's what we want as parents, right? We want our kids to be the best that they could be, and we want to give them everything possible. So I'm hoping that, again, it's another lesson through baseball, but that reflects life of, hey, listen, don't pigeonhole yourself into one corner. Whether it's job, whether it's baseball, whether it's school, whatever. Just because you like math doesn't mean you can't study, that you don't have to study for English. You can't just pass your math grades and expect to play sports. You have to pass all your grades. So I try to, do the best I can to keep that attitude towards my kids and everybody that does come into my life that I'm blessed with to teach on.
Yeah. And, that's one of the things in my book, Emotional Strength Explained. I bring this up usually every session because it's so relevant, but it's to face it, right? To be honest, face what you see in yourself, face what others see in yourself. If a kid is in school and the teacher says, hey, you got to work harder. If your coach says work harder, they want you to go home and spend 20 minutes a day or whatever it is, put that time in because it's worth it. Ryan, you mentioned attitude. I don't know if you remember, but my last name, Pozsony, when Nick was on your team, you're like, Nick, you play first base. I want you to be catcher. Go get the gear on. He went and got the gear on. I want you to play, outfield, whatever, he did it. And at that young age, he was just receptive and willing and open. And you said he had positude, right? You coined that phrase, positude, which is a good attitude. You pointed it out to all the other 8-year-olds on the team, look, guys, this is what I want you to do. Because some of the kids weren't cocky. They had that attitude. They were like, no, I'm second base. That's all I'm going to play. And, it was so awesome to see you convey that message, Ryan in action, guys, is awesome. If you have a child 8 to 12, go to USA Prime, he'll hook you up. And, I had to share that because again, going through Nick in these older years as he aged out, he missed his 12-year-old, final year in Little League because of COVID. And he had broken his ankle as well playing football before that. So he lost something. Now he's back with another sports academy out in PA. and it's really great to see him get that spark. Now, his current coach is not, doesn't have that same finesse as you did, Ryan. I always say to Nick, hey, I'll call Ryan. Let's go. And there's something there. I think he felt like he had to be better to rise up to meet you, right? So again, but he's older now. He's aged out.
No, but that's a great example, Alicia. I mean, if your son, and I know you'll take it the right way, but I hope your listeners take it the right way. Your son wasn't blessed, let's say, with the most talent out of the kids on the team, right? But he was the most receptive, one of the most receptive kids that I had when I did get to coach him, right? So he knew by me letting him know, hey, Nick, here's the deal, bud. We have 7 of the 9 positions covered with players that are more talented than you. I have 2 positions open, and there's 5 of you guys left. I need this position covered and this position covered. I'm going to take 2 of you 5 and put you in there, and the other 3 are going to be on the bench. What do you want to do? And it was whatever you need, coach. Whatever you need, coach, and I'm there. And you know what? I was able to get through to him in that, and that's exactly why, he did what he did. And, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps, if you could see that in here and now, just talking about it, because that's what really gets me going about a kid like him. And here you go, fast forward, 6, 7 years. Well, I had him as 9, so now he's 14. So 5 years later, and now not only is he still playing, but he's smart enough to see the writing on the wall. And he's one of my kids of hundreds of kids that I coach that probably aren't going to be a minor league baseball player. Maybe might be a collegiate player. He might tap out of it. He might decide to do something else. But you know what? He enjoys coaching kids now, and he's only 14 years old. What's he going to do in another 5, 6 years when he's of an adult age, and then he really gets to shine and do that? And then he'll be able to pass the lessons on sort of the way I did from the opposite end of the spectrum. So maybe one of the kids that came to me and came to him, they'll come to me, they'll get the professional athlete perspective, and then they'll come to him, get the non-professional athlete perspective. But if the messages are both the same, then he'll see, okay, it's really about positive attitude. It's really about looking at the bright side. It's really about this. And now maybe we both touch this kid's life in a way that he's only going to get better in life. And that's really what working with youth is all about.
Yeah. And, that's the thing, like no matter what obstacles we face, right? And Nick, I'm sure he's had disappointments coming home and not able to do as well as he wanted to, but he hasn't given up. And I know you've had something to do with that. I mean, listeners, if you are a parent, if you are an influencer, if you're a brother, a sister, a sibling, if you are a teacher, if you have time to volunteer, our kids need you, and to give these positive messages, right? Because the world is cruel. It's harsh. It's hard out there. They have so much on their plates now, so many challenges. Everything is so fast paced. So it's so important to make good choices. Be there for your kids. Don't focus on the negative, because we know we all have them. Like Ryan says, take his experiences, right? He went through a divorce, single dad, trying to manage it all. He was open and willing to look at what he had, and it's not easy moving back home, right? But he looked at it in a positive light, and as a result, he came out resilient through the end, right? So Ryan, let me just touch a little bit on your history. So in high school, you earned Hall of Fame at your high school at Steiner, right? Despite that, you went on to Rider College, where, you were Collegiate Hall of Fame there. As a junior, you led your batting with 358 average. You were Northeast Conference Player of the Year. As a sophomore in college, MVP, Athlete of the Year. So what, just amazing history. And then, as an adult, you've advanced, and obviously we learned some of the techniques that have gotten you there. So aside from, learning from their mistakes, from being positive, being open-minded and flexible, is there anything else that you think is important for our listeners?
out of all the, I'm gonna twist it a little bit. Out of all the accomplishments that you mentioned, and I appreciate you mentioning them, they all mean a special something to me in some different way, right? They all mean that I went out, I set a goal, I worked hard, and I was able to achieve it, which not all the time happens, right? But I was able to achieve those goals. You know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to be in the Hall of Fame of my high school and my college. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to be the MVP. I'd be lying if I said it didn't mean something being the athlete of the school. I'd be lying about all those things. But in reality, and I say this from day one, the most important thing to me in life is being the best dad that I could be. And I think too many times that people get caught up in one or the other thing. Either they work all day, so they just pay X amount of dollars for their kids and think that's happiness. That's not happiness. Or they do everything possible with their kids, but they're not really present, if that makes sense. I think too many parents nowadays get caught up in how it looks instead of what it is. I think more parents, as you alluded to earlier, you volunteer and be a part of this and do that with your kids. Listen, being a volunteer, that doesn't mean showing up, raking your leaves and going home or whatever it is. It means actually seeing what you could do to be a volunteer of doing something where your kids choose to do. And I want to recap that by saying my father's favorite sport was hockey. It still is. Can't ice skate worth a lick, but it's still his favorite sport. All right. But when I was little, I gravitated towards baseball. Now, he never forced me to play hockey. As a matter of fact, he then went out, coached my baseball teams, volunteered coach. He used to work in the Twin Towers. He was on the 33rd floor of the One World Trade Center for 18 years. He would get on the train, take the 2+ hour ride home. My mother would have a meatball parm ready for him. He'd get out of the car in his suit and tie, get changed in the parking lot, hop the fence, and coach my team. That's what I call being present. And I think, honestly, between my parents, my grandparents, God rest their souls, and my family, my immediate family, my brothers that I'm alluding to here, we all live 3 miles from each other. There's never a day that goes by we're not thankful for each other and what we do for each other because we want to, not because we have to. And there's a big difference in that. And I think if people focus more on doing what they want for the person or persons that they love, not by holding a carrot over their head and do this and then I'll give you that or whatever you want to say, but by just focusing on what they want and doing what they want because you love them. And I think that's what would start this, revolution, if you will, of more people being happy, staying away from the things that are negative, drugs and alcohol and all these things that these kids seem to get into because when it comes down to it, if they have time for drugs and alcohol, that means you're not there. Okay. And I'm not saying that they can't find their way and this and that and the other thing. And I'm not saying kids won't be kids, but if you're there, you're going to be present. You're going to know. My mom used to give me what I call the sniff test every time I came in. She'd give you a kiss every time you come in and sniff your breath. Make sure you weren't smoking a cigarette or drinking a beer or something. And, you look back on it and you say to yourself, these are the kind of reasons why I didn't do half the things that I did that I would have been able to get away with. It's things like that you may not, you may think, oh, mom, when you're a kid, but you look back and you say, geez, thank goodness mom did that. Right? Or look back at Joe Schmo and what went on in his life, right? He turned into this, that, or the other thing. And meanwhile, mom and dad would come home, they'd sit on the couch and the kids would be in the basement, doing what they wanted to do. So I think really going back to what you said about being present, volunteering and being present is really a key factor. And I think that's what, when the kids come to me too for the lessons and stuff, obviously I'm present in the situation, but I try to be as present as I can for them. I don't just come to the lesson and talk baseball. I come to the lesson, hey, little Johnny, how's life? How was your game the other day? What did you do? Good, good. How's school going? Good. I'll joke with them. You got a girlfriend yet? Or little things like this. Try and break the ice and whatever like that. And we talk about things. I'm present in the time that we spend with them. And bottom line is when they want to come back to when the lesson's over and they give me the old, that's it. Then you know something went well. When you're looking at the clock and they're saying, are we done yet? Then you know that I didn't have a good lesson. And knock on wood, that doesn't really happen much, but it's happened, right? It's happened. But then I'll make sure I tweak what I did to make sure that I don't ever have that happen again with that person. So being present in the situation is very important, and I hope your listeners get that.
So, Ryan, that's amazing. Let's start a revolution of happiness. Let's put our things aside and focus on that person. Think about it. When you're first dating someone new, and maybe it's not too long ago in your experience, but you're dating someone, you truly do. It comes natural. You think of what they might want, and you're able to do it. When you're comfortable and you're settled in your own home life, parents, kids, you're married how many years, even your parents, your siblings, people are so often taken for granted, and people don't know how to set boundaries oftentimes. So if you're being treated in a way that you may not be totally comfortable with, speak up, do it kindly, and state your boundary and say, hey, you know what? You didn't ask me how I felt about that. And kids aren't going to know to do that. So we have to do it for them. And, in my experience, I've worked with some kids who are developmentally challenged, and they have trauma. So when someone goes through something, they have a different experience, fight, flight, or freeze. And when they can't process things naturally. So, every person brings with them their own set of baggage, their own experiences and reactions. So, what Ryan is saying, to pay attention and to be present in the lives of others that you love and in your life, it really will make a difference, and that's something that's, in sports, in your home life. Imagine what would happen instead of coming home and rushing to make dinner or rushing out to do what you want to do, or, doing the laundry or whatever it is you might be doing on a daily basis. What if you just sat there and made time for them? Put your phone away.
That's it. That's
it.
You hit the nail on the head. My ultimate goal in life, is making my kids have the best possible life they can, but not obviously materialistic things, right? Everybody wants to have the material things, but being present with them and doing it. For instance, I could send my son to XYZ camp. I could send my son with his friends to ABC trip down the beach or whatever I wanted to do, because I'm blessed enough to have that. Now, they're not getting a $1 million Lamborghini, but I'm blessed enough to have enough money to get him a car, right, when he turns 17, right? But there's things like that. But why not go out with them to find that car that we could do together and make a day of it? Why not have them look at the ups and downs of why they should get XYZ and not get ABC car? Why not go through the process with them instead of just throwing the X amount of thousands of dollars that I'm able to throw them so they could go do it. So there's so many different things that, I could touch on. And again, and I don't want your listeners to, I'm not trying to pretend I'm an angel. I'm an angel or I'm perfect. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is life is going to hit you every day. Life is going to knock you down more times than it picks you up. The better that you could look at the situation, the better off that you'll be. Meaning there's a bright side, there's a dark side. Even when you can't see the bright side, you got to know it's out there. Like I said, when I went through those 8 months of COVID without making a dollar, right? My initial month or month and a half was crazy. No, I take that back. The initial month was awesome because I was like free vacation with the kids, right? Free vacation with the kids. Then reality struck up and I'm like, oh God, I didn't get paid this first month. Oh God, I didn't get paid this second month. Oh God, I didn't get paid this third month. And then by the fourth month, now you're starting to bite your nails and you're starting to tweak. But now I look back and I say, what came out of that, right? Now you have remote work from jobs, right? Now you have, I just got 8 months of of quality time with my kids that I probably wouldn't have had direct if we didn't get that. Now, do I wish COVID on anybody? No, that's not what I'm saying. Do I wish COVID didn't happen? Of course, but guess what? It did. So now, are we going to cry over the spilled milk, or are we going to make the best of it? And the best of it was we did. I tell you, I could show you video clips. We would do flips every day with my little guy. My big guy was into bikes and stuff at the time. We would look at different bikes, and he wound up getting a bike 6 months after we were looking at it. We took numerous bike rides to the park. We were doing Rocky Balboa workouts up and down the stairs at Steiner High School. We got to do things that really made us tighter than we already were. And I'm now looking back on it now that things aren't perfect for me, right? But they're better, and they're going to get better, and they're going to continue to get better. So looking back on the rougher patches, even though I'm not perfect, I look back and I'm so happy for those 8 months of what I had. Like I said, I got to move in with my parents. I got to live with my parents again. I had my parents both alive. My mom and dad, you took off a shirt, it was washed before it hit the floor. My dad was, out on the grill. Oh, the boys got practice today, so we're going to eat at 4 beforehand. He's home cooking. You know what I mean? I got to look at all these things again, and I got to be thankful for it now that things are starting to come up. So I just think really the main topic that everybody needs to think, look for the brighter side. Stop always worrying about the situation. Why me? Why did this happen? It's going to happen to everybody. Something's going to happen to everybody. Just be happy. Just be happy for what you have. Focus on what you have. Strive for more. But don't be jealous. Be envious, and then keep working hard.
Wonderful. So, listeners, you hear this straight from the mouth of Ryan Pandolfini. Life will knock you down. Look at the bright side. Make the best of it. Strive for more. Be envious, not jealous, and know that relationships take work. But in the end, you can be thankful. You can revel in focusing on the needs of others. You'll help others strive, and your relationships will improve. And, the whole COVID situation, everybody handled it a bit differently. Another example I'll throw out there, before COVID, when my family, I realized the kids were growing up, we were all doing our own thing. It was like we'd have dinner together, but everybody would rush off after dinner. We had to do something to bring us together again. We tried family movie night, family game night. It just didn't really help. So then I learned about something that worked. We did like date night. So I took my daughter one night and we went out to dinner. She picked the place, talked a mile a minute, happy because we spent quality time together. We got back home. My husband took my son and they went out and went to their place, and we saw the joy in their eyes that they were able to spend that quality time with each one of us individually. And we, through COVID, we saw a bit too much of each other, I think, but but now I realize, okay, we're back to normal, busy with practices and different things going on. I really feel like we need to do something like that again. So, keep in mind, you can change it up, you can do different things. Like Ron said, pay attention to what they're into and make a day of it, take time just to go do something, and you will see the value. You'll see the improvement in them. And, Ryan, I don't know about your kids, but did you see improvements in their moods or in their performance at school or anything as you were doing these things with them?
Well, in the beginning, when COVID hit, I saw just the opposite. I saw them getting too focused on, playing on the phones or playing the video game. Now, in the beginning, there was nothing else they could do, right? It was like being on lockdown. So I was part of the cause, right? I went out and I bought them a new PS5 or whatever it was at the time. I bought them the new Nintendo Switch because I wanted them to have something to do. But then once we were, some of the restrictions were taken off and we were able to get out, I found them too much still doing those things. And I was like, no. So then I would, put on X amount of time that they could do that, X amount of time they had to do something else, and, and switch that up. As far as the school-wise goes, that's one of my blessings as a parent for my kids. Knock on wood, they're both very good students in school. I don't have to worry about their grades at all. Marcello comes home. He goes up in his room. He doesn't do a thing until he's done with his work. And, he really hits the books hard. Mateo, he's still in elementary school, so I sit down with him and help him. But for the most part, they don't get a lot yet. And, we bang that out real fast. And when I have my parent-teacher conferences, it's always, hey, if I'm going to be out, I leave the work with Mateo, and the substitutes. Any questions goes to Mateo, kind of thing. So I'm blessed over there with the school stuff. But as far as them changing goes, I'll just say what changed. What they needed to do is they needed to change to get out of the we're not in COVID anymore, so we don't have to do X, Y, and Z that we all we were allowed to do. Let's get back to reality. And I saw them change. It's not necessarily for the better, for the worse, but to keep up with the times, right? So we're not doing this. It's the same thing. If I'm teaching my lessons the same way that I did 20 years ago, well, then something's the matter with me. Either I'm lazy, I'm bored, or I'm just going through the motions. You have to keep up with the times. You have to continue to grow. And, like you said with Hamilton Little Lads, that's what they were able to do for me. Mateo was able, as an 8-year-old last year, to play on that 12-year-old All-Star team that went to the Cal Ripken World Series. He's an
Amazing
8-year-old playing left field on a team that finished 11th in the country. Then there's another little league that, that wouldn't even let him try out because of his age. And then I went back this year to try out, and they still wouldn't let him try out because they said their league is not till 10 to 12. So everything is different. But, I'm instead of being upset where the old me would have at that league, I just said, okay, no problem. And I went right back to Little Lads, and, he reveled again in the majors with the older 11 and 12-year-old kids as a 9-year-old this year, the same way he did as an 8-year-old last year. So, you have to, you can't get mad. The older I get, the more I realize you're not going to change people. You're not going to change their perspective. So you have to look at the brighter side of things and make the best of things. That's really how I try to live my life.
Ryan, you said something. You said the old you would have gotten mad at the league. Now, that years ago, I saw you a couple times lose your cool. Tell me about that change. How did you?
I have a beautiful girlfriend, and she is, let's just say, very good for my calmness. She had a let's just say a not so good relationship with her ex, and I mentioned earlier in this conversation, I'm loud. I'm loud. That's just me. I'm a loud person. I always try to be positive with my loudness when I'm coaching, but just the fact of raising my voice around her due to past instances with her, it gets her like little jumpy. So I've learned to control my loudness, which in turn has me calm down and think about things a little bit different. She lives an hour away from me, so it's hard for me to see her every single day. When we first started dating, she was she only had one kid playing sports. The other one was hurt. The other one was too young. And I only had both of my kids playing on one team. So there was only 5 kids, but 3 sports. Now you have 5 kids, 7 or 8 sports, 7 or 8 teams between the 5 kids, because they're playing on multiple teams, and it's very difficult to see one another. But we make it work. And I guess in the beginning I was a little too, how do I want to say, I saw the light, she saw the light, but we kind of rushed the light for everybody else to see it. You know what I mean? And although it was a little more accepting on, for some people, it was a little less accepting for others because they wanted to make sure, hey, you already went through a negative relationship. Let's make sure this is a positive one. And in the beginning, I'll admit, that kind of made me upset. Like, hey, that ain't me kind of thing, But after dealing with it now, we've been together for almost 2 years. And now I see, okay, so it's basically they love her and they're looking out for her. So I got to tweak things. I got to do things differently to make them know, that they're just looking out for her best interest, if you will, and because such and such happened to her, they want to make sure such and such doesn't happen again. So I'm trying my best to show them that in a manner of, this is real. This is real for her. This is real for me. And we don't want to. We want to die. We want to do what we want to do, and we want your guys' support. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, great. But you guys have to support us no matter what, if you will. And but there's different ways of doing that. So we're working on that, and I'm really hoping everything goes through with that, because, like I said, she's very special person to me, and it's really a great situation that I have. She loves my kids, and I love hers, and like I said, my ex-wife and I and her get along awesome. Everything's ready to rock and roll. We have everything going on a positive way, but it's because of the way you looked at it. You got to look at it in a positive manner. And, in the beginning, I got upset about why can't they just do this, or why can't they just see that? And now I'm looking at it as okay, I see why they look at it like that. I see why they look at it like this. And I'm just a little more patient with it. And I have been for a good 8-9 months of our relationship now. And I'm hoping it all works out sooner or later.
So you had, a divorce, which would be easily, so easy to get down into a hole, right? And just give up or look negatively on things. Or when you start a new relationship, jump in and just make those comparisons. And, a lot of people I know who have done that, rebound relationships and unrealistic expectations and things. And so, it sounds like you saw what you wanted, what would work, and you're going slow. You're being mindful of her feelings as well. Other people in your life, and the looking for supportive structure. One of the things that I do in my book, and I will have one coming out for couples and as well for people coming out of bad relationships or in bad relationships, you have to be mindful, make those steps, right, to understand and assure that you're doing the right thing for you and for those that you love. And, it's just so great to hear, Ryan, that you were able to take that thing that happened in your life. You were able to turn it into a period of growth. And as well, you're now affected in a positive way, right? You're calmer than you thought you probably would be.
She's definitely made me more calm.
Yeah. So it's, that's a wonderful experience. And, thanks for sharing that. I know it's very personal and, something that, is great, but I think it's going to inspire others as well, who might be in different situations, that it is possible to get along after a divorce, to, put something there that's a good example for the kids. Cause again, it's, when kids are affected by trauma, it can set them on a totally downward spiral. And, so our actions matter. And, thanks so much for just sharing that. Yeah, that's awesome.
No problem.
So, Ryan, thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Such a good influence, and I know it's going to inspire others. We look forward to seeing what both of your kids do. Mateo, of course, is amazing. Hopefully he'll keep that love of baseball and let you, live vicariously through him. And I know that Marcello, if he has a plan as well, he's going to carry that through. Again, I enjoyed hearing you today on the show, and our listeners are going to definitely learn from you. Ryan, if people want to reach out to you for baseball, should they, Pandolfini Sports Academy?
People just can reach out to me for baseball, for life in general. Just tell me that they heard me on the show. They want to talk about X, Y, and Z. I have zero problems talking to anybody. As a matter of fact, I love talking. My best friend is, and I can mention his name because he's my best friend, is Andre Salzano. He owns the Hamilton Manor. He and I are like applesauce and gravy. They're two different completely things, but we're best friends. We go out in public. He wants me to keep his head down, sit down, we eat, and we do nothing. I want to go over and say hi to every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the bar that we know or in the restaurant that we know. We're just two different people. I love talking. I love inspiring or trying to inspire or try to help people. So if somebody hears something on this that they can relate to, or they have a question about it, or they want to talk about it, or they want to hear more about it, I have zero problem doing that, and I'd be more than happy to do so. They could email me at rp37baseball at aol.com, or they could call my cell phone 609-610-3677. I mean, that's not like a hidden number. I posted on all my brochures so everybody could contact me about baseball. So I have no problem with answering calls or emails or doing anything like that. And as a matter of fact, I would love to know if there was somebody out there that heard this that, you know, I touched in any way possible by sharing it, and you know, they want to talk more about it. I would love that.
Wonderful. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. Listeners, you can reach out to Ryan Pandolfini, RP37baseball at AOL.com. Also, you know, if he's open to helping with everything that you've heard today on the show, life, having a positive attitude, building a revolution of happiness. And anything else, Ryan, you want to?
You know what? I just feel like I talked a little bit too much about Mateo instead of Marcello, and I just want to add this clip in there. Marcello is the best big brother in the world. He, although his passion isn't the same as far as the intensity of the sports that me and Mateo have, he loves to play all sports. Don't get me wrong, and he does it. But he will be more than ready to come home and help out with, you know, Mateo doing X or Mateo doing Y. And like I said, he's never the jealous type, and he's always the helpful type. And again, as a parent, that's another way. Again, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's another way to say to myself and to my ex-wife Jessica that, okay, maybe we are doing something right here, because if God forbid something happened to us tomorrow, him being 14 or not, I know Marcello's got Mateo, and there's nothing for me to worry about, because he's that kind of a responsible person. He's that kind of a great person, and all he needs to do is snuggle with his daddy a little bit more before he gets too big, and then he'll be the best person there is. Because this Mateo, I still get to sleep in the bed, but Marcello's getting a little too old for that, and now he's going to high school and he's getting a little too britchy. But I want your listeners to know this too. Every single time I see my parents, every single time I leave my parents, my brothers, every single time I see them, every single time I leave them, hug, kiss, hello, hug, kiss, goodbye. You can never hug and kiss your family enough, and you never know when it's going to be the last time you hug and kiss them. So don't waste an opportunity. Don't get that bravo macho guy thing. And yeah, I'm Italian, I get it, but I'm also Irish. So hug and kiss your parents and let them know you love them, and go from there. And that's, I just wanted to add that in there, because yes, I'm very proud of Mateo and I'm very proud of his sports accomplishment, but I'm just as proud as Marcello, and I'm just as proud of him in a different way, that he's able to hopefully be taking some of the things that I'm giving in life and in the lessons and staying positive, and changing them in a way that he's smart enough to see the light on the wall and see where Mateo's going with X. And instead of getting upset about anything, he's looking at why and how he could be a part of Mateo's X. You know, we already talked about him going back to be an agent, or not going back, him going on to be a lawyer and an agent and represent Mateo. Daddy being the trainer, and us traveling around the world in our little Winnebago together. And yeah, some of it may be fiction, but a lot of it is not too far off from reality. And even if we did it for a summer together, it'd be the best summer of my life. So I'm looking forward to doing the things. You know, we still travel the world together. We go to the Little League World Series every year. I'm looking forward to heading there again with them this year. And doing our family vacations and being a part of it with them. That's what I'm looking forward to. So thank you for allowing me to end with that.
Nice. Well, we'll have Marcello and Matteo both on the show. Let me know when they're ready. And
Definitely, that would be a kicker for you right there.
yeah, yeah. Well, again, to your point, Marcello being not jealous, being helpful, responsible. Again, that's not easy, right? A lot of times in sibling relationships, you have those differences and you have rivalries. So in order to keep it all in check and have, as a parent, right, being aware of that and having the ability to instill it in your kids, right, so that they can both come out on top. And that's amazing. So good luck with the challenges of raising them. I know, along with all their things that they excel at. I know they have other areas, and being a parent is not always easy. I love what you said about that mom sniff test. I'm going to use it, and our kids are.
Grandma Nancy will be very proud if you use that.
Yeah. As our kids get older, we have to change our ways and level up.
That's it. Yep.
Wonderful. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you so much. Again, reach out to Ryan, RP37baseball at AOL.com, as well as his cell phone. And listeners, any questions you have, he's more than happy to help you. Ryan, thank you again, and thanks for being on our show, Resilient You, on Power 98.5 FM satellite radio.
Congratulations on your success here, Alicia, and I wish you continued success.
Thanks, Ryan. Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.